All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. And also thank you so much to our panelists who are here tonight to talk about their experiences in the program. And so this is all about the part-time program for the Master of Legal Studies at UCLA School of Law. This is the three panelists here today are all current students in the part-time program. They'll talk about their experience, and then we'll turn it over to you all to ask any questions you might of them. Now, Michelle Edgar is one of our panelists and current students here today. She actually has to go to class, which is starting very soon. So I'm very grateful for her for starting here. And so I'm going to be turning it over to her to talk a little bit, and then she'll be leaving, and then we'll talk with the other two panelists for the rest of the session. So that's why it'll just be a little bit different than what we would normally do tonight. But without further ado to that, Michelle, welcome. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself really quick and just talk to us? Why did you choose this program? Why did you choose UCLA? And what's your experience been like in the program?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Well, I think, during these times, a lot of us are looking to better our skill set and improve as executives. I've been an executive in the entertainment business for over a decade. I've worked at a music management company, talent agency, record company twice. And, I looked at my degree as an opportunity to really better myself and to grow and challenge myself and see what I might not know and how this could really enhance and allow me to dream bigger as I climb the corporate ranks at these different entertainment companies. And I was super honored to be part of UCLA. I am an East Coaster, but LA is my home, and to be able to be at UCLA with all the entertainment focus of this program, it was a privilege and a great opportunity. And I focus on strategic partnerships and brand marketing and helping artists build out their brands and businesses. I am always putting together deal points. I'm the one negotiating all the points in my business. And I'm also a founder of two other companies. I started a nonprofit called Music Unites and a women's group called the XX Project, and I'm building those businesses. So I figured a legal background would make me be smarter and, know all the loopholes and be able to, utilize the skill set with the, legal mentality, but to really fuel and help me have a stronger foundation with my business. So I am super grateful for the opportunity. In full transparency, I am looking to pivot too, and I am about to transfer into the world of sports and the digital, media agency landscape. So, having this degree and being in, the thick of, job interviews, and as I look to, grow in the C-suite of corporate America and running teams, I think it's really been able to, have a lot of leaders look at me differently, and they're like, wow, you're working full time and doing this program. So you'd be surprised, how many people, really admire, respect, and value this kind of education. So, I'm in the thick of it, and I'm pivoting careers, I guess you can say, into the world of sports. But I'm super excited to see what I might, where I land and what I might not know that, inspires me to continue growing. We have this capstone project at the end of our 2-year journey. And I think that's a really exciting opportunity to really dive in deep on a topic and a business and a company that, the UCLA team really, focuses you on, and it's like a 50-page paper that you put together. So I'm excited to really bring that to, my future company and to really dive in deep to, provide a whole new, in-depth, resource and knowledge and undertaking to really, bring more clarity on my professional journey. So I hope that's helpful. If you want to reach out to me, I'll put my information in the chat box, but Michelle Edgar, you could add me on LinkedIn. Feel free. I'm an open book and here to shed wisdom. The balance of work and school is very challenging. I have a very corporate, job from all hours in the music business, as you can imagine, from morning to night. On average, I'm on 50 Zooms a week. You know, it's a challenge, and you have to be super disciplined, focused, and you know, I think you just have to tap into why you're doing something and the end all purpose in what motivates you. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. I know the direct impact it's had, and just into my second semester, and as I pivot and catapult into my new role and profession. So I'm here to be a resource, and I hope to see you guys in class in September in some capacity of in person or Zoom. So feel free to reach out, and I hope that's helpful, Jason.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing, Michelle, and thanks for coming tonight. Enjoy your class tonight.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. And again, thanks so much for Michelle for joining us before she had to hop over to her class. Now, so first I'm going to talk just a couple brief points about the program, and then I'll start turning it over to both Jason and Wani, who are here tonight. And again, other current students who are in our program. And but one of the first things I want to say is why yesterday we had our full-time panel featuring a few of our full-time students, and tonight it's all about our part-time students. A lot of what we perceive as the value of this degree, of course, is yes, you're going to learn knowledge, you're going to learn information, that kind of thing, be connected with the professors, some of the top in the world. But to me, one of the most exciting parts about it is the people that you're going to be sitting next to, in person in August, but also virtually next to just some absolutely amazing professionals, but also just amazing people. As Jason and Ronnie would never personally say, but they're just people that I want to know more, and I'm sure you all would like to know more too. And that's part of one of the really cool things about this program, just the people that we can bring together as well. So as far as the application deadlines that are coming up, for the August start, we're looking at the general application deadline of April 26th. We're currently enrolling admissions up to that period. So whenever you submit it, it will go immediately to the admissions committee for consideration. And a quick COVID-19 update is we all know here in Los Angeles, things are looking a lot better than they did in the recent past. And such, UCLA is fully planning on moving back to being in person in the fall, in August. Is it going to be 100% totally normal? We don't know, but we are certainly hoping that it's going to look a lot more normal this next year. And what the part-time schedule would look like would be Tuesday, Thursdays, Tuesday night, 6:30 to 9:30. That Tuesday would be on campus at UCLA, and Thursday night would be online. Same times, but online. So that essentially would be your schedule for the whole first year of the program. Then the second year of the program, as a part-time student, you'd have the option of taking classes anywhere ranging throughout the day on campus if you prefer. A lot of the JD curriculum available. And then there's also going to be classes in the evenings. We're building out a lot of new online classes that are just for the Master of Legal Studies students that'll start to become more and more prevalent starting this next year with exciting options available. So those are some just choices. It's built for flexibility and built for working professionals to be able to do the degree. Now, the last quick point before I turn it over is the upcoming panel. So we're currently in the part-time student panel right now, but for everyone who registered for today, we're going to shoot you a link later tomorrow. We're going to send you the link recording to this session, but also to our previous panels that we've already had. We had a faculty panel where a couple of faculty members talked about the program and the building of the program. We had a full-time student panel, which of course you're here for the part-time, but we'll also send you the general information session recording as well, if you'd like to view more of the kind of nitty-gritty details. Now, upcoming events is this one's, I think, an exciting one. We have an event that's Meet the Incoming Class of 2021. That's your class. That will be the students. Those will be the students who are in the classes with you. And the application deadline is April 26th, but we've had many applications already, and there's about 35 people admitted right now already. And so lots of them will be there for this one to introduce themselves, so you can kind of see who's going to be in my incoming class. Of course, our current students, like Jason and Wani here tonight, you'd also be in classes when you do your specialization classes. But these would be the students who'd be right in with you to start the program in August. And then finally, March 23rd, we have our application tips session as well. It is a competitive program to get into. And so this one helps you really put your best foot forward as far as making sure your application is as good as it can be. As I mentioned before, the after this tomorrow, we'll send everyone who registered for this a recording to the link to this session, the previous sessions, and then also a general information session. All right, so without further ado, we have with us Jason Schaefer and Wani Park, two of our current students. And let's start with you, Jason. Jason, could you just introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, good evening. Jason Schaefer here, first year part-time student in the master's program. Work at a joint venture with Sony Pictures. I've worked in the entertainment space for last 2 decades. Hate to say that, but is what it is. And focus on media and entertainment, and oversee marketing and business development for my company, which is called Crackle. And it's great to be here.
Thanks, Jason. Wani.
Hi, everybody. Wani Park, again, part-time student. My focus is on environmental law. I've spent the last 13, 14 years in terms of, working for companies that really look to fight climate change, and do product and technology and software around that. Currently, I'm the chief revenue officer for a clean energy company, but I also do, some pro bono consulting and things like that. So I work for the city, for the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator and things like that. But the program has been fantastic. And I think that for me, one of the things that's been most beneficial is actually having the ability to concentrate on environmental law, which is really a void in sort of my toolkit. And we can talk more about that later, but it's been just spectacular, and the faculty has been fantastic. And just a little plug for Jason and Elsa, they run a really great program. And I think as you go through this process, you'll find that they're incredibly responsive and thoughtful. So
thanks, Wani. So the first question I have for both of you, and so Wani, you started mentioning this, but starting for Jason. So Jason, you're clearly very experienced. You mentioned you were ashamed to admit a couple of decades in experience in the industry, but why this program? Why UCLA? Why this program? And what specialization are you in?
Yeah, so I was starting to look around, I guess in February, to go back to school, and I didn't know what that meant, and I hadn't shaped it or formed it in my mind, but I knew I wanted to get back in the classroom. And I'm always telling people that work for me, like, always make sure your skills are up to date and always train yourself. And I thought, I should probably eat my own cooking, because it's been a couple of years since I got my master's in business. And so I came across this program, and it was like winning a lottery ticket and finding like the perfect match. I negotiate MSAs all day and contracts. I work with lawyers. We're always negotiating, whether it's distribution deals or vendor agreements. And I wanted to take my game to the next level. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to go back to law school, but I did want to have a couple more tools in the toolkit. And complementing with that, the media business is becoming more sophisticated and complex with data. And so my day-to-day job deals a lot with privacy and data. And California's got some new legislation that's come out on what you can do with people's personal information with media. And so I came across the law and technology track, which again was like a perfect fit for my interest. And so I applied, and here I am today.
Thanks, Jason. So same question to you, Wani. You mentioned your specialization in environmental law, but can you expand a little bit on why did you apply to the program?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, in my role in terms of driving revenue, a lot of what's happening in terms of the energy and sustainability markets is that a lot of it is regulatory in nature. There's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of utilities and utility commissions that I always have to work with. I've been working with them for 13 to 15 years. And it's always one of those things where like, I had sort of this lack of confidence in terms of like, what am I doing? Like, am I like, what is this force majeure thing? And like, am I signing up for something that I shouldn't? So what ends up happening is that I allocate a ton of budget to counsel, like third parties and things like that. And we would have, representation in every state. And it just was a huge part of the budget. And, my thing was like, can I shrink lead times and cycles? And that was one part of it. So that was really helpful. And, I think in terms of what I'm learning, I can actually apply it like almost on a daily basis. And that's no BS. That's like completely legitimate. And I find that to be very rewarding. The last thing I'd add too is that at least in my market, in the industry that I work in, lawyers are actually, they're the business development people. Like they actually drive growth and they actually make things happen. And I think to be able to have a little bit of knowledge there and the ability to really articulate and communicate with my counterparties is very valuable. So that's really it.
Thanks, Wani. And I will mention that Jason said he was in the law and technology specialization, Wani in the environmental law. And Michelle, who was here a little earlier, she's in the entertainment and media law specialization. We do have 8 specializations to choose from: business law, employment law, and human resources, public interest. So we do have several to choose from, but I'm glad we have a few here represented tonight. The next question is, so both of you, obviously you have very demanding jobs, family, all these things. Talk to me. How do you balance all this? How do you fit this program into your busy schedule? This is probably our number one question from people. Starting with Jason.
Look, like when you're applying to a program and you have a full-time job, or even if you don't, like it's all about discipline. I'm not going to tell you what the secret formula is. I'm probably still trying to figure it out. But when you want to do something, you want to do it well, you're going to find time during your day or week. I have a full-time job, I have 2 kids, and all the requirements that go along with those responsibilities. I wake up early in the morning, I stay up a little bit later at night. I find some time on Sundays before the family gets up and we roll out of the house. You make it work. It's all very manageable. And because I find like this is different than almost undergrad and probably even business school when I was a little bit younger, like I want to be here, and it's something that's I'm so passionate about, and I'm taking classes that I want to be in. It's not work. It just becomes part of the fabric of your day. And, you can also sprinkle it in at lunchtime. You make it work. It's all very doable.
Thanks, Wani.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar situation as Jason. I mean, full-time job. I actually have 3 kids. And, it's all about prioritization. And what I would say is that, and I got my MBA years ago as well. And it was a little different, just like Jason said, but I really enjoy this stuff, right? And I kind of geek out on it. The cases are ridiculously fun because it's all happening in real time. And so I can apply it to my work, my life, and things like that. And, it's one of those things where like, I actually found that even with family and work and things like that, I still have plenty of time during the week where I'm doing nothing or just wasting time, and like refocusing, reallocating it to school has been fantastic. And it's actually made me way more efficient in terms of all other parts of my life because I've got a ton of reading to do, or I've got a quiz or whatever, right? So it's a little bit of that. It's like, do you want it? You can fit it in.
All right. So thanks for talking about that. So now you mentioned before, you're both in your second semester now of your program. So just talk to me about your experience in the classes, just kind of overall. So if you want to talk about a specific class, or just kind of generally about the classes and what your experience has been so far, Jason.
Yeah, look, your first class and you're stepping into the program. It's cold water on the face. I hadn't been in a classroom environment in many years. And I don't say this with ego, but at this point in my career, when I attend meetings, I'm usually the most senior person and I know the most, and I'm directing people. And now I'm the student and I know nothing. And the ego and the humility that goes with that, it's been rewarding. And that was part of the reason why, I undertook this journey. The first semester, it's very difficult. We learned, I felt like I learned a new language or maybe a new dialect. And there's a lot of terms that maybe you've heard before, you've read in the journal or the papers, or you hear on TV. But it's also, they use words like you want to think like a lawyer. And I bring that up because I do feel like the synapses in my brain are slightly changing as I go through the program. And I'm looking at problem sets in a slightly different way. And again, that was one of the benefits I hope to accrue going through this program, to be able to think differently and have a different lens to look at business problems. And I think I'm starting to get some of that language down. We're in a business class right now, and last night we were talking about Elon Musk and his lawsuit. And we're reading about it in the paper, and we're learning about why he's, trying to defend himself against the shareholder lawsuit. And as Wani said, it's real time. You're learning about subjects. You're being able to apply business rules and look through this through the legal lens. And it's all coming together. And I'm guessing by the time I'm done with this program, my ability to synthesize this information is going to be, even greater than what's already occurring now.
I think the overall experience in class and the curriculum's been great, right? Like, I don't have anything to add there, but what I would say is that, at least for me, in terms of my concentration, being able to interact with the faculty in regards to their area of expertise and the stuff that they've done, right, over, their tenure around environmental law has been fantastic. UCLA's got this amazing reputation for environmental law, but they've also got the Emmett Institute and other organizations that actually promote, the different things that we're studying. And for me, again, being a professional and being out there in the market, the ability to network with them and actually paying them for advice and thoughts and things like that, and they're so accessible, has been fantastic. So, I've been blowing up like Professor Heck's phone, right? We talk all the time, and just like that element, I think, is what really puts the cherry on top of the overall experience.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about the kind of classroom experience and how you kind of manage that, but talk to me a little bit about the community. So how has the community been, and just talk to me about your experience there, Jason.
Yeah, a lot of this is through the lens of COVID, and so I speak to the community in a sense that we have interacted primarily through Zoom and the computer. But that being said, it hasn't limited, or I don't feel like it's limited, my learning experience. We have Slack channels. We're all talking offline. As Wani mentioned, you're interacting with the professors. Everyone's very accessible, and everyone's doing their best with what's going on, in the world right now. I am really looking forward to getting on campus. I used to take my kids to the volleyball games and the basketball games, and I miss the sports, and sports with school, I think, is going to be a winning combination for me. But everybody is so interesting, and I can't wait to grab a coffee in person. And Michelle, who was on the call earlier, we talk every week because we both work at Sony, but I've never met her in person. And it'll be great to shake her hand and say hello and talk face to face. So the community is great. A lot of very different types of people with different backgrounds professionally. And so not only do you learn from the professors, but I think the exchange with different professionals, you're just always soaking up info. And I guess that's the beauty of going back to school.
Yeah, echoing what Jason said, I'd say that, at least, we're sort of the first class, right? The class that Jason and I are in. And I would say that, in terms of that community and our cohorts, it's fantastic. Like, there are no bad apples. Can't wait to meet, one of you in person. But overall, like, it's just a really great mix. And, we have great discussions. Everyone's incredibly supportive of each other. We all want everyone to succeed, and it's been great. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add there.
I think I would actually like to piggyback on that real quick with what Wani just said. I think law school in general has the reputation of incredibly competitive, and everyone's out for themselves. Our program, and Jason, maybe you're gonna get into this, our program and the grading is structured very differently. Mm-hmm. So it's incredibly collaborative. We share notes from class, we share insights, and everybody is incredibly collaborative because we're not being pitted against each other. We're not being ranked like the full-time JDs are. And so I believe because of that, there's a sense that everybody wants everyone to do well, so the whole boat will rise and the classroom conversations will become more sophisticated instead of trying to won over your classmates so you're perceived as smarter or you can get a better grade in the class.
Yeah, well said. And as Jason said, yeah, hypothetically speaking, everyone could get an A in every single one of the classes. There is no curve, and so that is an exciting part of the program, I think. So the next question is, what experience can someone seeking information about the program expect? So everyone here tonight is a prospective student into the program. They're thinking about if this is the right program, if UCLA is the right fit. So talk to me a little bit about what advice do you have for them as far as considering if this is the right program for them, if this is the right time for them?
Yeah, so I looked at this experience, and I spent a lot of time talking to people who had been a part of the UCLA law program and felt that was a proxy for this inaugural class, and spent some time talking to professors. And for me, it was, how will this help me in my career? And so as I mentioned, I work with lawyers all day, so I just thought it would raise my game. And then the economic impact, it's an investment of time, but also investment of money. And so what's your return going to be, whether financial today or financial down the road? And so that, I weighed that and tried to think through what the potential outcomes were. But I think the biggest question I had was just will this make me a better person? Will it make me more well-rounded? Will I become more interesting? Will I be able to ask smarter questions in life, whether, professionally or not? And the answers were always, big blinking green light and yes. And so I checked, those were the three sort of ways I looked at this program and tried to seek information to answer those three, macro questions for myself.
For me, it's, I just look at, I'm in the business of sales and business development and growth, right? And, I took sort of an approach where I'm not doing this just to get the degree, right? That's not required of me anymore. It was really the network and the associations I build at this organization or at the school. Like, what does that do for me? And I spent a good amount of time actually up front before I made the decision to go for it, talking to professors, Professor Karobkin. I talked to Professor Malloy, who's very well respected in terms of environmental law and things like that, and just picked their brains and just got a sense for it. I'd say the other thing is, if you do know what you're concentrating on, again, going back to my point about the Emmett Institute and looking at what the output is, what are they actually generating? Is it legitimate? Is it something that actually impacts people? And, they all check that box. And I said, wow, this is really great. And also, I think the program is also structured to give you flexibility to graduate at your own pace and take the courses you want. And I mean, even Jason and Elsa have tweaked the program midstream in terms of allowing our students to maybe take more classes than they wanted to or was initially required of. So all that stuff was very helpful. But I think it's got to be a good fit. Do your diligence, talk to as many people as you can, and I think the answer will come to you.
All right, thank you both for that. Very helpful. So that's all the questions that we have for the panelists. Now I want to turn it over to everyone who's in attendance tonight. Feel free to chat any questions in the chat box, and either I or myself or the panelists will be able to answer the questions for you. And as we're collecting the questions here, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat box the email account, the email address you can email if you have any questions and if you want to connect. Celeste, I see you raise your hand. Do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question?
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know the chat was disabled.
Oh, well, that'll make it difficult to chat in your questions then, I think. So thank you for telling us. We will go ahead and enable it so you can actually ask your questions. Question. So there's a question about scholarships generally and who's eligible for scholarships. And so all students are eligible for scholarships, whether you are in the full-time or the part-time program. And so it doesn't, there's no, no preference weighted one way or the other. Everything the scholarship level will be based on the strength of your academic background and about your academic and about your work history. So whether you're full-time or part-time, it makes no difference. Good question. Okay, so the next question coming up, I'll turn over to our panelists, and either of you can just jump on in and answer and piggyback off each other. The question is, what's been the biggest surprise or unexpected challenge of the year?
Yeah, I can jump in. What I would say is that maybe I'm just naive, but the thoroughness and the rigor was way more than I expected. And I think this is one of the things I think people should consider is that it's not a cakewalk. There's a ton of reading. There's a lot of work that needs to be doing that you need to do. And it's funny because, I've only gone through one cycle of finals, and, I had 3 courses my fall semester. And, I'll be honest with you, I had a lot of anxiety. I put a lot of work in. And oh my goodness, like, but coming out of it on the back end, it was fantastic. I felt so good. And the fact that, I actually thought I learned a ton was really that was the cherry on the top. So.
Yeah, I probably sound like an echo. You attend the program and it's going to be hard, but that first class, it's a wake-up call, because as I mentioned, they're speaking a slightly different language and they're approaching problems in a way that I hadn't thought about how to work through the problems in the way that a law school professor expects you to work through. And the other challenge I had, which I'm comfortable with now, was the cold calling. Again, like, you're a little bit older in your career and someone calling on you about a topic that you know very little about. And even on the topics you do know a lot about, you can't articulate it because you're speaking in front of 30 people and you're hot on the spot, and you have to apply a case detail that's in the second footnote, and it's stressful. But again, that's part of the process, and the professors are teaching you to lean forward, and I don't know about be aggressive, but be confident in your answer. And if you don't know the answer, you certainly make one up on the fly. And again, that's part of I think, coming out of law school, where they want everyone to be super well spoken, super confident in their answer. And that was really really challenging for me in that first month or two to be ready for that.
I'll just add one thing, because that triggered something, Jason, is that, I've done a lot of writing now. I've done so much more writing. And I think that in terms of writing memos and how I communicate, in my career, has become more focused and succinct and more just to the point. And that's one thing, just after the first course in the fall semester, that's helped me a lot. And I didn't expect that. And that was a surprise. I didn't think I was going to be writing as much. Yeah.
Question is, what has been your most engaging and applicable class so far?
I can jump in. I mean, right now I'm taking 2 sort of environmentally focused courses, and it's fascinating because at least in business, I'm sort of looking at it in a very narrow way. And you take this global approach, and whether it's like solar financing or building a wind farm or things like that around sustainability is just fantastic. And the professors have brought in amazing people to talk about this stuff. I mean, we were assigned to read a book over the weekend, and then the person that was the protagonist in that story comes and speaks to us and talks about all the challenges. And it's just unbelievable. Like, it's been so great. And so for me, that's the thing. And going back to my initial point, where all this stuff is affecting me in real time and I can apply it in my life and my work is completely legitimate. And so that's been fantastic.
Yeah, I was mentioning to Jason prior to the call that the class I'm in right now, the business law for non-lawyers, is fantastic. It's like every page I read is about a topic that I love to talk about: LLPs, LLCs, corporations, S corps. And I'm in this class and the buzzer rings and I'm like, no, I want to go for another hour. Like, I want to stay after class. I want to listen to this professor, because she's going to probably forget more, in a week about this topic that I'm going to learn in my lifetime. And I just can't get enough of it. And it's just, you find these classes that hit the mark on what you're interested in, and you just want to be a sponge.
Question is, can you speak more about what it means to specialize? So yeah, I'll definitely jump in there for this one. So in the program, it's broken down into 2 phases. So the first phase is what we call the core curriculum. And so you take a lot of foundational classes in various areas of the law, but they're foundational, but they are challenging, as Jason and Wani have both been talking about. So classes like business law for non-lawyers, that's one of the core curriculum classes. Private law, a public law class. So there's various classes that are core curriculum. Then the second phase of the program is your specialization phase. So that's where you're able to take a lot of the classes that are specific to you from the whole curriculum. As Wani was mentioning, those couple environmental law classes are a couple of his environmental law specialization classes. And so that's how the program is structured. You can choose to have one of the 8 specializations, or you can choose to do general studies. And if you general studies, then you can do any class you'd like as far as that part when you get to that second phase of the program. Question is, are either of the panelists in classes with JD students? And if so, what are those classes and interactions like with them?
I could go. So in the electives, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely in it. And, in terms of what it's like, I'll be honest with you, when I first got into it, I was a little bit worried in terms of just my knowledge of the law and in regards to like, what do I bring to the table, right? Is there a big gap there? But what I'd also add is that, I think at least, with the MLS students, most of us have pretty significant work experience. And as you get into the electives, I'll tell you, like, I think that trumps, any course you've taken, because like the real life application of not just law, but business and the interaction with your counterparties is pretty significant. And so I've quickly found that like I hold my own really well, and it's actually been pretty fun because I bring a different perspective.
And Jason, you haven't taken an elective, right?
Not yet.
So one thing that I'll add to that is kind of piggybacking on what Wani says is, when we came into the program, a lot of the professors, when developing the program, they're thinking like, okay, we got to really make sure that the M.L.S. students are all like really prepared to be in with these JD students. But then the experience now that our M.L.S. students are actually in those classes is what Wani was saying, is that advantage M.L.S. students, because you have lived this area of the law. Now maybe, obviously you're in the class because you want to learn more about it, but that kind of real life experience coming in is much more advantageous than a very bright 23-year-old JD student who's in a program. Nothing against 23-year-old JD students, they're amazing, but as far as ability to hold your own as an MLS student inside those classes. Yeah. So here's a question for you. Did you consider other programs besides Master of Legal Studies? For example, did you consider just doing a JD degree at this point rather than Master of Legal Studies?
For me, no. I wasn't like, I have no desire or intent to be a lawyer. And frankly, I think just where I'm at in my life, it'd be a huge disruption. And I think that's why the fit and sort of like product market fit, MLS, people like me and Jason, is fantastic. And you get what you want to get out of it. You could customize it, and you just, you learn a lot and you apply it. So I didn't.
Yeah, that was never on my radar. I mentioned I have a business degree, and I was looking at masters in data and, going a hard math route with, being able to use and manipulate data for marketing purposes, but ultimately ended choosing this program because I thought it just had a lot more day-to-day application to my current role.
All right, thanks. And the one thing I'll add to that is essentially what we tell people for this program is, if you want to be a lawyer, there's only one route to go, and that's not this program. It's the JD program. But if you don't need if you don't want to be a lawyer, then that's where you should really consider this degree, because as both were saying, a JD program is 3 years full time, and if you're a working professional, that's going to be a little rough as far as that's concerned. So this program, on the other hand, you can come in and just really tailor focus on the classes that you want to do. So definitely that should be your first thing. If you're considering this, your first thing, lawyer or not. And if lawyer, then only one route is the way to go, the JD program, if that. But if not, then this one should be seriously considered. Question is, Wani mentioned it briefly, but was it challenging to go back to academic writing as a working professional, and how so?
It's just a different way to go. I mean, the focus, the structure, how a lawyer writes a memo and does communication internally or to a client it's just like a toolkit that I didn't really have. I would say that typically, I mean, to give you an example, my communication at work is Slack, some emails, a lot of texting, things like that. So it's sort of like you don't develop that. And then when you go into a process where you're going to write, I don't know, a statement of work or, an MSA or some sort of contract, it gets a little bit different. And then the flip side is you also have to read those documents that may be 30, 50 pages, and to be able to understand what's going on and quickly identify like, hey, this is an issue or this is not, has been very helpful. So that's been, really helpful for me.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think it's being able to write clearly and succinctly, is really the trick. And I oversee marketing in my day job, so we're always thinking about flowery, description and adjectives and how to communicate. Whereas in this program or in law in general, it's what's the shortest sentence you can write that shares the most information possible. So it's maybe different parts of the brain or different approaches, but I don't think that's been a challenge or a hurdle so far. Or at least hasn't been for me.
And one thing I will add on to that is at the beginning, Michelle mentioned that you're gonna have to write a 50-page paper in the capstone. It's actually a 20-page paper, so I did want to clarify that so no one was immediately scared off with a 50-page paper requirement. Anyway, just wanted to clarify that much earlier point. The next question is, was it initially hard to get acclimated to an academic setting after not being in that space for so long? And any early challenges relating to that?
Oops, sorry. Ready to go. I was so ready to go back to school and make all these new friends and have this new network and things like that. I would say absolutely not. I thought the onboarding was fantastic. There's a week that we spend together in terms of getting to know each other and learning a little bit about the law. I think the only sort of downside is just like, lack of, face-to-face interaction and socialization and stuff like that. Zoom just gets really, really tired and hard, very fast when it comes to that stuff.
I think my reentry was a little bit more bumpy. My first class was with the dean of the law school with Korobkin doing private law. And I had interviewed with him and met him when I was exploring the program. And, he's doing the cold calling, and you just don't want to be unimpressive with the dean of your program. And so there was a sense of, responsibility that I felt that I needed to put my best foot forward. But like all things, you get into your rhythm, and after a month or two, you find your way. But it was a big change for me. And I think I got through it, and all of you on the call will get through it, but you're going back to school, and it's if you hadn't been in class in a couple of years like I had, it's a big change.
Yeah, it was a great question and great responses. And I think I want to add on one thing to that, as far as Wani mentioned this earlier, but we as a program are always looking to improve and to find ways how we can get better. So each year, hopefully just iterating from everything that we've learned from Wani and Jason and all the other students and their feedback. And one of the things is we are now, this upcoming year, we're going to be doing a series of legal analysis workshops over the summer before starting the program that helps people get acclimated to being back in a classroom setting again, and to hypothetically build up a few skill sets that would be helpful inside a law classroom before you enter foot inside the classroom in August. So that's something that you can expect as in the incoming class this coming up year.
Yeah, Jason, maybe I would add to that. Your first semester, you learn the formula. There is a technique on how to go through these classes, and I didn't necessarily have the playbook, but once you understand how to prepare a case, how to answer questions, and you kind of get that, I use the word rhythm again, but once you get that down, I think this program in law school, I'm guessing if you use the same playbook, it's more manageable. Maybe not totally manageable, but more manageable.
Yeah, I think that's a very well put. Next question is, as part-time students, how many classes are you taking each term, and about how many hours a week do you spend on each class and school-related work? So before I turn it over to them, I'll just do the quick boilerplate answer on this. And that is, as a part-time student, you have the option of how many classes you want to take each semester. And so you can take, one class in a semester, or you can take a couple classes, or that. So you have flexibility there as far as how many classes you want to pick. And roughly speaking, if you, on average, if what is said, if you, for every 1 hour in class, you'll have 2 hours out of class preparing for that. And so thus you can expect, if you're taking one class a semester, let's say, on average, you'd be at about 8 to 10 hours of work a week on average. And if you are in 2 classes, you'd be at just about 18 to 20 hours of work a week on average. So these are averages, different to everyone. But Jason, you want to talk through any experience there and what you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's roughly what I spend. The first semester, it was probably double that for the first month or two, because I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't write it's called the IRAC to prepare for a case. And, I'd read the case a few times, probably too many times, and take a bunch of notes. This semester, the class is, more about, it's teaching about information that I know a little bit more about. So it takes me a little bit less time, but, 5 to 10 hours for the class I'm in sounds about right. And,
same here. I think what I would say for me in terms of the number of classes, I've taken 3. I'm in 3 right now. And, the first semester is, it's rigorous. There's a lot there. And so, I don't know how many hours I spent, but it was a significant amount, a lot of weekends and things like that. But as you get into your electives and your concentrations, like Jason was saying, there's a little bit more knowledge that you have in terms of the content and the topic. So I think, it makes it a little bit easier. The readings are faster. You just absorb it faster. So I think you become more efficient.
Okay, so then looks like the last question is, do you have any general application tips? So that's a good question. And I will say that in an upcoming webinar, it'll only be about application tips. And so I definitely suggest tuning into that one. I think that's in a couple of weeks from now. And but just generally speaking, 2 main factors we're looking at: strength of academic background and your work history. So between those 2 things, just really see how you can really portray and clearly communicate how you're at a high level of both of those. And so that's super, super vague in general there, but come to the application tips webinar where we'll talk very specifically about each document that's required for the application and give you advice on each one of those. So, all right. So I want to, in closing here, I just want to thank Jason and Wani so much for taking the time tonight out of your very busy schedule. It's much appreciated. And for anyone who is here tonight, feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're more than happy to help. MLS@law.ucla.edu with any questions you might have. And again, I hope to see you in some of the next panels coming up soon, and hope to see you apply and be in the program starting in August. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for coming.